Welcome to Bits and Bants, the developer marketing podcast. This week's guest is the one and only Erin Mikail Staples. Thanks for being Erin. How you
Hey,
doing?
yeah, good. Thanks for having me. Always fun to kind of catch up and geek out on this kind of stuff.
I know, for real. And you and I, so we've actually known each other for like over a decade at this point, right? Well before either of us worked in
Yeah,
the developer tool space.
yeah, very weird to think about. I think that's part of one. I've always enjoyed like the work that you've done and the collaborate, but I think when people are like, "How the hell did you get into the developer space?" I'm like, weirdly, I think it's all those detours you take that make you better at this role. But we'll save the spicy takes. We'll keep them going, I guess.
No, I mean I've had a conversation with a few weeks ago with one of the people I love in the space, Katie Miller, and it's always that what is the winding road that brought you into developer tools? Very few people I think wake up one day and are like, you know what I want to do? I want to be in developer tools. But you end up getting all these really interesting, smart people who have ended up here and then they stay because it's a really interesting space.
I think the thing that I love about it most is like your audience is builders. Like they're doers, they're
Yeah,
builders, they're people who like actually enjoy the little weeds, like getting in the weeds on like really nerdy topics. And I think that's the exciting part about it. Like when you go to a lot of other industries or professions, like you're not necessarily always talking to the builder.
of
Like
course.
you're talking to an executive or a manager or something else. But like, this is like, no, let's get right in the weeds with the builders.
And it's such a fun place to be because you get to watch so much stuff come to life. But like you said, we'll get into it. I
Yeah.
think for this, right? So you and I met a long time ago, over a decade,
Mm.
American Advertising Federation regional conference in Seattle, and we had spent a lot of that time kind of just bonding on our love of all things like tech and building and cutting edge and all of that. And since then, you've gone on to do a ton of stuff, right? You completed a master's degree at NYU. You're the co-host of the DevRel Podcast. You work as a developer experience engineer at Galileo, and you still find time to do a million other things, including stand-up comedy in New York. Before we jump in, did I miss
Yeah.
anything in that intro?
I'm like always I think in that time. I think we've both gotten married. Yay, marriage.
Yep.
Let's see. We've adopted a gremlin dog that is
Yep.
running around the house. But I think yeah, that's it. Maybe hopefully there's some time for sanity in that. But you never know these days.
A little bit,
Jury's
right?
out on that.
You find the
Jury's
bits
out.
and pieces where you can. So I think for this conversation, the place I wanted to start is actually focused around kind of your job and the job title, right? The developer
Mm,
space is full of all these like very similar job titles that all kind of sound the same but are different, right? You've got dev
mm.
marketing, dev dev advocacy. You are in dev experience, developer experience. Tell us about what developer experience is and why it's so important.
So first off, I start with the caveat, and I'm going to quote Kelsey Hightower in this, who's like been around in the space for quite some time. And there's this saying that I can't remember what conference he said it at, but one of the conferences he said, everybody comes up this question of like, what the hell do these job titles mean? And Kelsey
Yeah,
Hightower had this like amazing statement where he's like, you know what the job title is? It's whatever the person who's paying you says that job title is.
right.
Uh, and there is some truth behind that. Like I think a few years ago when I was working at Orbit, we used to get much more like upset and like up in arms about like, what the hell does this
Mhm.
job title mean? And like, yes, I do think there is a discussion to be had of especially like the role a job title can play, especially in hindering equity and
Totally.
diversity efforts. Because like for me, I get people who assume all the time that I don't know how to code and I'm non-technical, and they're like, "Oh, she's just like the social media person that hangs out with the developers."
Mhm.
I'm like, "No, that's actually my thing that I made." And I'm going to tell you about it.
Yeah.
Also, I made it. So I do know how to code. Please leave me alone. Okay, thanks. Bye. So for me, it was very important in my role to keep the engineer, and I actually negotiated to keep the engineering part of my title there. But yeah, I fell into this as a technical community advocate, open source product manager. Kind of fell into it through that lens. But when I think of developer experience, it's one a really like across the board title, but I think of anything that a developer would think about in the onboarding process of a new tool or materials or even learning a new thing. Like, what is that experience like?
Yeah.
So, like, I think when we think about dev tools, like, there's often like an ecosystem which they live in. So, there's like a Rails ecosystem for those who like Ruby. There's a
Mhm.
Python ecosystem, and like the developer experience roles are, I think, very fun because not only do you get to do these fun like ecosystem, like how does this tool fit in the ecosystem people are working on it, but also what is the experience that they're interacting with? What is the first use of an SDK look like? How do they learn where your tool sits in this ecosystem? How do they
Right.
even interact with your ecosystem in the first place? Like I'm now it's very fun. I'm in the AI space now, which if you would have told me that 5 years ago, I would have done a completely different master's degree.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah, I think it's a very fun space, but kind of that flip side of the being in that space is there's data scientists and AI, which were the people building this AI space 5, 6 years ago. And then there are now people who are developers who may have never worked in AI before that, have never made their own models. And now they're building AI features inside products. And so many times, sometimes when I'm working with someone, I almost have to reality set, be like, hey, what part of this AI space are you coming from? Are you new? Are you vibe coding? Are you here? And how do I help you kind of Sherpa your way through that experience, for lack of a better term?
And I think a really important question for me, because we have so many clients and we see so many people stand up developer programs for the first time, right? And everyone seems to kind of over index on different parts of those job titles when they spin it up. Some people will start with dev marketing, some people will start with community advocacy. And I've seen a lot of instances where those kind of first 30, first 60 days, the dev experience part gets neglected. So why is dev experience so important, especially to companies who are going out and standing up these programs for the first time?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. One, I think the biggest part to dev experience, and I think I learned a lot of this. I formally moved into this space when I was working at Launch Darkly with Cody, and it's everything like those are all great. Like advocacy programs are great, but in an advocacy program, you're assuming the person's already used your product. So you're
Hmm.
coming from that perspective. If you're coming from a community perspective, again, you're making the assumption of like you've already used the product to some extent.
Hmm.
Dev experience is like they may have never used the product ever, and they don't even know why they should use their product versus 17 other products that are out there, or why your product matters. And
Hmm.
it's what does that onboarding first experience look like? And how do you make it? We've all tried something or downloaded something. I think you
Yeah.
and I are both early adopters. I actually can think of a great like parallel to this is I've been really into the Civ 7 release right now
Yeah.
lately.
Yeah.
Me and all the like nerds in the Discord are hanging out, but when it released, everybody was like, this game is awful, like
Yeah.
terrible. And people were so mad. And like, it was people like me and many other people who were like, remember how Civ didn't actually get good until the player feedback and the DLCs came out? And like, we can't, it's not fair to compare it to like the game at like the Series 7. But we're talking about the people who are helping make that a really good experience.
Yeah.
And that means like, we've all downloaded something and been like, I'm never going to pick it up for another month because this is a terrible
Totally.
experience. And I think when it comes to dollars on the line, like I think now we're more like what is it like a price conscious world more than ever, and like or a trust conscious world. Like you don't get second tries on that kind of stuff. If the tool
Hmm.
doesn't work at the time and they can't get it working, they're never going to convert to be needing an advocacy program or a community program because they're just gonna bow out. They're gonna see you later. Bye.
You only get one chance to make a first impression, right? And that's something we
Yep.
talk about. We have our kind of director of strategy and one of the partners here, Tom Williams, always says you have to get your house in order before you throw a party, right? And then once people get there, once people arrive at that party, you want to make sure they have a good experience so they're going right back out the door. I think the thing, and you see this, as you mentioned, you see it with gamers as well, but you see it with technical audiences, you see it with builders, developers, anyone like that, is developers talk. And so not only do you lose someone going out the door if they have that bad first experience, then they're going to be in the community. They're going to be on Reddit. They're going to be on Discord, and they're going to be talking about it. Be like, "Yep, I tried X tool. It really didn't work for me. I had a really bad onboarding experience. Like I was really interested in the promise and the value proposition and everything there, but I just couldn't get it working for me. So I've actually pivoted to Y, Z. I'm using something else, and I like it way better." But is that
And
core fundamental idea that you only get that one chance to make that first impression?
it's so funny, and I think I've like interacted with them on LinkedIn a bit because it's as like community. And here's the secret thing: I'm going to spill some tea. Developers don't hate me for spilling some secrets, but the secrets here, I think I'm going to spill. I'm not going to get too annoyed, but as more and more companies have invested in community, that's great. More and more companies have invested in advocacy, that's great. But I'm sorry, we're not going to shit talk about you. Assuming
Hmm.
I can swear this podcast in your own company channel. Like that's stupid. We're not going to do that because
Totally.
we're just going to get met with some sales rep or some support person that's like, okay, we'll try another month. And I'm like, I don't want to talk to you. I don't want another month.
Hmm.
9 times out of 10, guess what? Because community took off, and then what happened is all those community jobs got cut. All of these companies decided, JK, we're not investing in community more. So, but we still built these really great, authentic relationships, maybe with not the brand, but with
Yep.
each other. And we spun up our own private discords and private things, and they're invite only. And guess what? No brands are probably going to ever be in there. And that's where people are actually talking and making those recommendations. And no, no company should ever want to be in there. Like you don't want to be, but you want your experience to be so well, whether it's a booth experience at a conference, whether it's someone I know got a really great recommendation. And I remember there was a company, I can't tell you their name off the top of my head, was like, oh my goodness, this company has sponsored 5 meetups of mine. I
Yeah.
will
Yeah.
gladly promote them because they're sponsoring meetups. Or Another company was like, hey, we'll like offer you $100 to talk about us. And it made it. And it was like, wow, you guys, $100 is your price. That's how much you actually care about us. Like, cool, thanks. That's gross.
Yeah.
Sponsored post prices are going out in there. And I think that's the stuff that people forget about. And that's the stuff that we all talk. We're all human, right? Even if you're working from the office, you're still going to talk to someone.
I think you highlighted something that's super important there, and we always try and kind of reiterate this to our clients as well, is this idea that even if you're not part of the conversation or if it's not taking place in your own channels or communities, which very often it's not, people are talking about you. Developers are talking about you, builders, whoever is using your tools are talking about you. And if you're not part of that conversation, it's very important to find a way to authentically become part of that conversation and at least be able to listen in so you really know what's going on, right?
And sometimes that means I don't want to be in that conversation. Like sometimes authentically listening in means let me sponsor an event or like for you to
Totally.
like let me just do something right. Like where did I see it? There was a recent conversation I was in a couple different actually it was in a couple different discords I was in about the next acquisition. And I first went into this like screw this, it's so awful.
Yeah.
Vercel's taking over the internet. And it was through these conversations I was having that I very much had my opinions shifted in probably a matter of 6 hours. Because when the news came out, I was like, ugh, this is awful. Where's the open web? Glitches die. Like Glitch went down.
Yeah.
This is Fastly destroyed like some of the best things that Glitch offered. And it was those conversations. And it was again having when you think about like when you say being part of the conversation, it's like again, that's doing the experience part right, funneling them through
Hmm.
eventually to an advocacy plan. And
Right.
then those natural advocates, they're not going to be like, hey, Gary, guess what? I talked about your cool thing in this Discord. They're not going to do you that. That's weird.
Yeah.
Like, you wouldn't ask, like, okay, what was your experience in level 5 of this game? No one would ask that. That's weird. But it's in these like niche communities that you'll see it happening.
And that's where again where the real value comes out of those programs. So
Totally.
I think something I'm really curious about, and this is something I've heard you say before, and also when I was kind of like seeing what you've been up to recently, I was poking through your LinkedIn and saw this as well. Is so like here we really frequently talk about reducing friction, right? Reducing the time to hello world. How quickly can we help a developer get to launching something, writing something, pushing something live, before we even start talking about scale. And you have this phrase I've heard you say, which I really like, which is you like decreasing time to the aha moment, which is, I think, a very interesting take on that. Tell me a bit more about kind of what this means and again, why you think it's so important.
Yeah, no, good creeping. I don't even know that I would have like said that in my own. So thanks for people who creep on my stuff more than me. So, but I think the time to aha moment, like we've all tried something. Like, I think of actually like planners are a great one. Like, I'm actually a terrible digital planner. I've tried them all. I have tried Todoist. I have tried, tasks. I've tried things. I have tried reminders. I am terrible. I've tried Google Keep. I am terrible. But like they work great for other people, and that's
Yeah.
fine. And I love that for you. If that's something that gets you going, I need my good old fashioned like paper planner that I have
Hmm.
used for years. And if I
Hmm.
don't write it down in my paper planner, that's not going to work. But there's no, for me, like an aha moment can be different from everybody. But like
Yeah.
for me, I'm never going to hit an aha moment in that formula because it's just not my thing. And that's okay. It's much like if I'm a Python developer, probably never going to be in the Vercel world. That's okay. It's not like a whatever thing. But say I think Astro is a very cool, it's a framework, JavaScript framework I love.
Hmm.
They're really great at static sites. But their CLI has probably one of the best aha moments out there. It's like, watch how easy this is to get up and going. You install their CLI, you run through their little tutorial, and then it has like a little rocket ship,
Yeah.
like, and it's so cute, and you're just like, this is so fun, and
Yeah.
it makes you like, I get why this is exciting. I get why people are hyped about this, and so I think the aha moment isn't universal. Don't we try to making an aha moment for everybody? Like there's that whole like cheesy saying probably some mom has on their Pinterest board that's like, I don't want to be everybody's cup of tea. I'd rather be someone's shot of whiskey or whatever.
Yeah.
But like you're actually solving a problem. That's the other thing. It's like everybody has a problem. For me, like project management, I'm terrible at it. I don't need 17 reminders. I need my list. And that's gonna work for me. But maybe someone needs those 17 reminders. That's okay.
I really like that. It's in for tools or anything, right?
Yeah.
We've talked about a different bunch of different parallels, but it's like that aha moment of like, oh, this is why people like this. This is why it's good. This is why it solves that solution for me. And any of those kind of like little milestones along the way. And I know we've kind of been using parallels in gaming throughout the conversation. So like the same one, there's this small French game came out this year, Clair Obscur Expedition 33, and it kind of came out of nowhere. as soon as it came out, everyone was like, "This game is amazing! It's so different. It's so fresh." And same thing. I jumped into it, played the first 30 minutes, and the story within 30 minutes, the storytelling was so like I was just sitting in my gaming chair like sobbing. My
Yeah.
wife was sitting next to me. She's like, "What's going on?" And like that was the aha moment. I was like, "This game is telling such a beautiful emotional story. This is amazing." And it's I think same thing right here where you're trying to get to that piece where you're just like it clicks and you're just like, "Oh shit, this is why this
This
is
is
so good,"
amazing. Like,
right?
this is so
Yeah,
cool. Like, this solved a problem. And I think especially, I'm in the evals, like the DevOps kind of related space for AI, right?
yeah,
That's a hard place. And I've probably been in the DevOps space the last like few years. But the DevOps space is interesting because your aha moment looks a little different. Your aha moment in a DevOps
yeah,
space, like you're not going to be like, okay, your site didn't go down today. Thank you. Give me a paycheck. And it's like, all
yeah,
right, well, it could have also just not gone down because you built it right,
yeah,
like whatever. Or like no one did an edge case. Like you're not testing. You don't think about that when you're in those kind of spaces. So it's almost like one of the things is like we wouldn't live in America without buying health insurance. It's ridiculous.
totally.
Like so it's almost how do you have that narrative of like, this is your aha moment. Like, don't stress about like, heaven forbid your appendix were to rupture tomorrow. Jokes on you, mine's already out. But like, if in that like space, it's like you wouldn't live in America without health insurance. Like, why would you deploy software without some kind of safeguards? I think that's finding whatever narrative is for the aha moment, or like, ooh, like helping people realize, like, hey, you've been on a call before, right? Like, that
Mhm.
sucks. What if we could fix that? Like, you don't have to be on call.
Yes. The little and so much of that, like the functioning within those things are table stakes. But as someone else who is living life without an appendix, I totally the metaphor resonates with me on the health insurance
Yeah.
front. Um, so I'm keen to ask you. I know one of the things that I always see again as I continue my kind of cyber stalking of all the cool things that you're up to is you're on the road a lot, and I think it kind of comes with the territory. I think it's a good fit for your personality. I also think it comes with the territory of your roles. You're at reInvent, you're on DevOps Days, PyCon, PyData Berlin, KCDC. You are at like every single developer event within there, and I always like to ask people who go to a lot of events, what is your current favorite event that you've gone to?
Ooh, this is a hard one because I think
Yeah,
they're different.
they're all
I
different.
They're all very different and they're all different purposes. So I live in New York City. Like I'm very fortunate that like our meetup scene is great.
Mhm.
And our meetup scene, people are like, oh, the meetup scene died. I'm like, no, it changed. And that's what's cool about it. Like there's an AI tinkerers group here that like only builds weird stuff with AI. And I love
Yeah.
that. And yeah, your sponsored events kind of went out by the wayside, but that's okay. I think the smaller, more niche events have been really fun. I think I always joke I've ran events in both San Francisco and New York, biased, but I love New York. San
Yep.
Francisco, everybody wants to pitch their startup, which is fine, but like I want to build. For major conferences, I think Pi Data Berlin is one of my favorites.
Okay.
And I think it's it's the organizing committee that is so good at it and just like one of the best experiences I've had at a conference ever. Absolutely amazing. Just the organizing committee is really on top of it. The people were like very close knit and amazing. It felt like the talks, like you weren't getting a bunch of like sponsored talks or people there to show, like
Yep.
just genuinely people there for help. I'll out myself as a total newbie. Like this at the time, I went and I was working at Label Studio, and I remember attending this like workshop on like Fast API and WebAssembly, and it was like, I've never used any of these tools, and I like
Yeah.
totally asked the speaker afterwards. I was like, can you like help explain it to me? It was like the creator of Fast API, like Sebastian. I was like, I'm like walking away, and I'm like, wow, that was a stupid moment, and it was just like the kindness that he
Yeah.
had towards like just really just genuinely like fostering an environment where you can ask those questions and like teach people was just one of those really great things. I don't see that happening at every conference. Strange Loop, rest in peace. It no longer is a thing. I think that's another really great conference. There's actually a really great and the closing talk of the final year Strange Loop is probably one of the best closing talks I've ever seen. And it was like called to go back to like your local community meetup scene.
Okay.
And that was really good. They don't obviously run it anymore, but like go watch the YouTube talk. It's amazing. It's like one of those things where like they're not doing it anymore. And yes, I want to be mad because this is such a great event, but simultaneously, I get why you're not doing it anymore. And I appreciate the call to action of like, go start something in your own local community, or start something that you're excited to be in. And think of the other fun stuff that I've seen. I do think jam.dev runs a cool little meetup series. an AI hack night
Mhm.
series where it's very builder focused, which is fun. And it has like 3 people building AI things. It's really fun. Other like really fun ones. I think those are the ones that really jump out to me as like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. I would jump at it again. But I'm definitely more of a smaller meetup person these days.
Yeah.
And I think it's just more of like, what do you get for the value that you're at? And I think that's like, and I think get for the value, right? Like,
Yeah.
I want to actually build relationships with people. Like, I'm there. I'm not there to like sit there and I'm like, cool, I can gather leads or whatever, but that's not my job. Like, cool, great. Some of
Yep.
these conferences, the people that come by and do the booth, you're like, okay, great, you're an executive. Here, go talk to the salesperson, schedule a
Yeah.
call. Because like they're not even like, they're like, cool, I'll talk to you, but like I actually am not a programmer. I'm not interested. I'm not going to be the one building it. I'm going to go pass this back to my team and they'll deal with you. So I'm like, okay, sounds great. But I think those are the ones that really stand out. And I think that's just, I'm seeing Chris Tragg he's now at Amazon, but he used to be at Stripe. He does a really good series. I think he's still doing it. And it was like brought together developers who actually worked on the React Native SDK to
Yeah.
enable Amazon apps and games team to work with all these companies and would just host dinners.
Yeah.
And it was like, yeah, there was like a little like talk track, like 15 minutes or whatever,
Yeah, of
but
course.
like, but then it was like, let's just geek out on this at the table together. And I think that's a much better way of doing it. And I look back and like, I've always had managers that are like, okay, but like, how many leads can we get to? And I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, I now know so many more people and like, that's the value of it. But I think it's like willing to understand and get away from that general sales mindset is another.
And that, I mean, personality wise, at least for me, right? And there's no right or wrong answer here, but personality wise, like I've always much more leaned towards like smaller community based conferences because for me, it's so much easier to just go somewhere and be like, we all like this really specific thing. Let's nerd out over that, go deep.
Mhm.
And then like we just get to do that. And that's fun to me, right? That doesn't
Yep.
take the emotional energy of being at like a big conference and really having to try and suss out who you're talking to, what you're doing, where you're trying to be, all of that sort of stuff.
Yeah. 9 times out of 10, if I'm at a major conference, you will not find me at lunch because I'm back in my hotel room by myself.
Taking some
Like,
time to
being
emotionally
like,
recover.
like I'm overwhelmed and overstimulated, and this is all far way too much for me.
There's a reason we get along, and that is one
Yes.
of them. I think so. This is a question since we kind of were thinking about bringing you on. This is a question that I knew I wanted to put in here. I've saved it for last right now, just because I think it's going to be a fun one no matter what. We mentioned at the top of the episode that you do, one of your many hobbies is you're a stand-up comic. You also do some production work of comedy shows in New York. What, if anything, have you found to be the overlap between your day job in dev experience and your work in stand-up comedy?
First off, love the question. Second, like I think it is so much harder to give a stand-up comedy set than it is to give a tech tutorial on a stage.
Yeah.
Like after I started doing comedy, they'd be like, "Are you nervous on a stage for a dev event?" I'm like, "Nope." Like they're just like happy if this thing works. They're not expecting a joke. They're not expecting a punchline. They're not like, "Oh my goodness, I paid $40 to be here." Like, and this sucks. Or the comic before me is bombing, and I have to go, "Oh my goodness, I'm refigure my setup." Like, whatever, like tech events, like they're just like, wait, you made eye contact with me and you're on a stage and your tech was cool and we got to geek out together. Like the expectations are just very different. So it's made that a lot easier. I will say it has made me a better writer as well. And I say that, so I actually formally studied both in undergraduate and master's in liberal arts and journalism and media. So like I felt like my writing skills were fairly strong already, but then getting into comedy, professional comedians, there's actually like they're booking you. You want to have a laugh about every 10 to 15 seconds.
Okay.
You think about that. And we would have had about, a ton of punchlines by now. And it means that every line you say has value and you're always looking about how fast can I get to the next laugh as much as possible. And so if you take that and you apply it to other forms of content, video is one that I think is much easier for me now. It shows, because video, you're like, no one's watching what, I think even 90 seconds is long for people on video these days. So if you're listening to this podcast right now, thank you for listening the entire time. And if you're my mom, then give it a thumbs up, mom, and pretend like you know what you're listening about. No, I know you'll text me later what it was about. But I think that all being said is like, get good at tightening it up.
Yeah.
I am naturally a long-winded person, so usually this just takes the form of me making 15 pieces of content at once instead of 5. But that is a good like thing. I also think I do run an AI comedy group, and I fine tune
Right.
models to roast people. So I will actually in your neck of the woods at Cascadia JS this year performing comedy over there. So I will be
Amazing.
roasting developers at Cascadia JS. So stay tuned for that. It'll be really fun. And a couple other creative AI projects up my sleeve.
And for anyone, so this is a really good place, I think, for us to start wrapping things up. For anyone who's interested in going to an AI comedy roast, obviously we have one coming up in the Pacific Northwest. Where else can people find you? Where else can people find the show?
Yeah, so you can find me on pretty much interwebs if you just Google at Erin Mikail or erinmikailstaples.com. I do have a monthly show at Flophouse Comedy Club in Brooklyn, New York. I co-produce that with someone who is been featured, Jordan Perry, who's been featured at Comedy Central. So he and I have been running it for about 3 years now. It's a traditional stand-up show. And then the AI stuff does pop-ups kind of wherever. It's mostly like an AV issue. Believe it or not, most comedy venues
Hmm.
are not designed for AV stuff
Yep.
like this. So it's
Yep.
been a creative pursuit. Yeah, that'll be that. I'm most active probably on LinkedIn and Blue Sky. So you can reach out there, and all of the blog work you can find on my GitHub, or if you want to check out all the stuff that we're doing at Galileo.
Awesome. And per usual with all podcast YouTube stuff, we will put links to anyone who wants to follow Erin, find out more, check out some comedy shows, and hear about everything she's doing at Galileo. We'll put the links down in the description. I think that's it. I'll also take the opportunity to say hi, Erin's mom. Thanks for listening. Thanks if
Hi.
you've made it all the way to the end. Hopefully you've enjoyed the session. We appreciate everyone listening in. And Erin, thanks for being a guest. Really
Yeah, of
appreciate you
course.
being
Thank
here.
you for having me.
Cheers.